Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Anolua for those who are new here, and today I'll be sharing my experience and my journey with you guys. So for those who know me, I'm a mom of two. I have two toddlers. One is 2 and the other one is 3. And let's say when I had my first child, everything was a smooth sail up until now. Let's just say that. Although yeah, everything was a smooth sail up until now, but for my second child, let's just say at 6 months we discovered some things, and I just thought to bring this awareness for people who are not really conscious of this, because I know from where I come from, allergy is not something we really talk about. It's not something that I wasn't aware about it. Not that I didn't know, but it wasn't common, I would say. Not I didn't know, okay, you could have allergies. I knew you could have allergies, but I didn't know people around me that had allergies. And I know a lot of people, especially from where I come from Nigeria, and I know a lot of people have a lot of people are lactose intolerant, but we still take milk. And well, even I myself, I'm lactose intolerant, because if I take too much of it, I get what was it called now, I have tummy aches, and I'm just not my old self for the rest of the day. So I don't know if that counts as lactose intolerant, but it just gets me real good if I take considerable amount. So and basically I don't take cereal, so I'm fine. I really don't need that much of it. I can get the protein from other source of food. Yeah, back to what I was saying. So for my second baby, it all started when it was 6 months. And you know, the regular after 6 months you have to, like, okay, because I started with exclusive breastfeeding, and I breastfed exclusively for 6 months, and it was a smooth sail up until then. And after 6 months we were like, okay, yes, so we're going to introduce formula milk to him, and from there we'll just carry on, and then I can at least relieve myself of the duties of having to breastfeeding all day all night, because we had to co-sleep because of the feeding pattern and all that. Yeah, so I remember when we started, the first day we introduced the formula milk to him, we bought the same thing that we bought for his brother, which was the Cow and Gates. So now it's not about the particular brand now, so we bought that one. And I remember that faithfully we're all at home. Then we had this daylight saving, and it was always getting dark, let's say like 4 o'clock and all that. And if you can hear any echoes because of the room, I mean, it's quite small, so I'm sorry if that's affecting the sound. So yeah, I remember that day we gave it to him, and he sort of like, after maybe a few sips, he rejected it. He didn't want it, and he started crying. It was just as if, oh my, this child is just being fussy because this wasn't breast milk that he was used to. And although because he was crying, we just stopped giving him and just trying to pacify him. And it was dark. We didn't switch on the lights, I would say, and we had just the TV on, and that was the light that was there. He was just crying, and he kept crying. We were trying to pacify him. Sometimes, you know, babies can cry, and it can take a while for you to pacify them, but this was taking a while for us to pacify him. And we're like, what's wrong? Okay, let's switch on the light to see what's happening, because he was crying. The cry was becoming uncomfortable for us, and we switched on the light. And lo and behold, when we switched on the light, it was covered in hives that were, it was large clusters of hives all over his body, all over his body anyways. And before we could say Jack Robinson, he started coughing, vomited the content of the milk, but he was still crying. It was still uncomfortable for him, and I felt terrible. Because if, let's say, if the light were on, we'll probably have maybe noticed when the hive started developing, because it was crying and it was just, well, why you fussy, it's just breast milk, it's just formula milk and all that. And because I didn't know what's going, I haven't seen that before. Well, my husband is a doctor and he felt that, oh, this boy is definitely reacting to this milk, and we're like, okay, what are we going to do? Thankfully for us, we live near the hospital, so we just, like, the hospital is literally just a stone throw from where we live, so we just dashed to the A&E, and because sometimes he works there, it was easy for them to attend to us, give him some they gave us some drugs for us to help calm the hives and all. I think they gave us some oral steroids for him, and that calmed it down, and that was like the beginning of our journey. And fast forward to us having to, like, okay, maybe it was the cow and gates that we bought for him, let's try another brand of milk. And we tried another brand of milk, and it was the same thing. It started with what's it called, coughing, starts with the hives, and eventually for him to be comfortable, he has to vomit the content of the milk. And we were just like, okay, what are we going to do? I started researching into it, and for those in the UK, you know, sometimes it can take a bit of time for you to get appointment and all. And so we reached out to our GP and tried to see if they can prescribe Altera milk. Altera milk is an hypoallergenic milk. So basically what that means is this person is reacts to normal whole milk, but then they are not totally. So Altera milk is just like a plant alternative milk for babies. Let's just say that it's a plant. So because it's still 6 months, and we can't start giving him the likes of soya milk, the likes of oat milk, because he's not yet one. His system is not yet developed for that, I would say. And just to make sure, okay, his feeding was still okay, I continue with the breastfeeding, then introduced other purees and all that. And if he needed to take any cereal, we had Greek yogurt. He was able to tolerate that, so we're adding just maybe like a teaspoon to his Greek yogurt for protein and all that. And it took us a while. It's been really a long journey coming. It took us a while for us to get the GP to prescribe the Altera milk. Honestly, even when they prescribed the Altera milk for us and we got it, tried to give it to him, the Altera milk itself has a horrible taste, horrible smell. So I don't know how they want babies to take it. And because this is not the first milk the child is taking, my child was taking, it was difficult for him to, I felt it was difficult for him to just transition into the Altera milk because of the taste. It wasn't as I'm sure it wasn't as tasteful as the breast milk, which perhaps he's been used to, I would say. And so we gave him that one, but he wasn't just having it, and we had to take it back to the pharmacy. They disposed it for us, and which I felt like I could have maybe, yeah, that was like the most appropriate thing to do. You take it back to the pharmacy, they will discard it for you because it's food, and once you return it, they can't give it to another person. It has to be discarded because of contamination and all that. Then and we've just been able to balance, okay, let's just let him keep taking breast milk. And because of that, I think I had to breastfeed him, not exclusively now, but breastfeed him here and there up until 18 months. But in the midst of that, we're trying to introduce other protein source, other things that he can have, give him his vitamins and all that we can give to him and all that. Then I think there was a day I was eating cashew nuts, and again, he was interested as a child, so I just pieces the cashew nut and just crushed it and like gave it to him in form of this. And once again, after giving it to him, in matter of it wasn't up to a minute, maybe like 30 seconds, started coughing, started scratching. It was just I'm like, okay, here we are again. with another reaction. Okay. And I think we tried with egg, because this was just at 6 months is the time where most people introduce things to their baby, like apart from milk, apart from liquid. So at the point of all this, the introduction of this food, that was when we discovered that, okay, this is what it has. And because until you actually have a test done, you can't really ascertain. It could just be a one-time thing. So with egg too, that happened as well, and we were fortunate enough for us to get appointment, which honestly, before they gave us the referral, and before they called us for any appointment, it took almost 6 months, I would say. And it was a waiting game and a time of avoiding everything that could literally be either egg, either milk, either whole milk, or cashew nuts. And it was just avoiding that. And at that time, now because I have two babies, now I have to make food for the toddler that it was still a baby then. The toddler that I had, the older one, I had to make a different food for him, my baby at the time, and I had to make food for her. So it was a whole lot of work, I would say. It was like I was working full time to feed for 3 different set of meal, 3 days, 3 times a day. And it was that. And I think around 6 months as well, if I'm correct now, around 6 months as well, as I don't know, sometimes baby have rash and the rash will come and go, but he now had like a recurring eczema, which was now more than rash. And yet again, we had to be referred to a dermatologist. And because now we were suspecting that this baby has multiple allergies, and coupled with the rash, we were referred to dermatologist, and we're also referred to the dietetic pediatrician. And all these appointments didn't just come like we got a it was just like the GP referred us, and it was a waiting game. Honestly, it's a waiting game. Waited like 6 months. Yeah, I would say we waited like 6 months. I think it was 1 year before the dermatologist saw us. And they saw us, they gave us some steroid cream. Although by then I'd done my own research on there weren't much of people who their children had that, especially as blacks, that I don't think I knew anyone, but I knew one person who her child had that, and I watched that video. Was Patricia Bright. She's the child is mixed, so she also had the allergy. Not allergy now. She had eczema. Hers was extreme. So with my own baby, he had like a recurring one. So it was like it was coming with the season, and you have a new season, or you have maybe months where there is nothing at all. His skin is clear, he's looking like baby. And it was so bad that you felt like you had a baby, and a baby's skin should feel like a baby skin, but his skin wasn't feeling like a baby skin. And you had to be moisturizing like regularly. You are like, and you just have to be conscious of what is touching, what is putting in his mouth, and all that. It felt like this was a new shade to motherhood that I never expected, because it was, like I said, for my firstborn, it was like a smooth sail from transitioning. It didn't even take breast milk. Like, we started with formula, so it was a smooth sail from formula to purees at 6 months to solids and all that. And now I have another baby, and it's been like, okay, we are here now. What do? We are here now. A lot of researching, a lot of watching, reading things that could help. And one of the things that during my research and all that was the fact that fine, steroid can help in a short time, but it is not a long term. It's not a long term. What's the word now? It's treatment. It's not a long term treatment, because excuse me, it's not a long-term treatment because obviously the side effect is there and we don't want him to have a damaged skin or it causing anything into his body. So I was a bit concerned with that, and so whenever he has the flare up, I just probably use it for 2 days and stop and just continue with the moisturizing and all. So I would say fast forward to all this time, we're still waiting, going to the dermatologist, going to the pediatrician, and they decided to or they agreed to allow him have an allergy test done. I think that was done at 1 year 6 months or so. Yes, that was like 1 year 6 months. They gave us, we were given appointment for him to have a allergy test done. So that was like a skin prick test. Mind you, before that, whenever we eat like swallow and he has egusi soup, if you know egusi soup, that's melon soup, and he usually come black, like he has hives all over his face, and where I felt like kilo tu shele, what there is, what's wrong again? Like you cannot be reacting to egusi again. So, and when they did give us the allergy appointment that we should come for the allergy testing, I told them that I think he might be reacting to egusi. That is it possible for us to get him tested for that? And they said yes, that they don't have it, but I just have to bring the seed with me. So I took the raw egusi seed, like the non-grounded one, so they crushed it themselves at the clinic and gave it in. So they had like a prick test on the ham. They sort of like mark your ham in different, they tested him for like 10 things, 10 different things. I think it was egg, milk, different almond nut, cashew nut, peanuts, hazelnut, Brazil nuts. It was 10 different tests anyways. And yeah, so I think out of the 10 tests they did for him, it was positive for like 8 out of it, which included the milk, egg, the cashew nuts. It included the pistachio as well, then Brazil nut. But thankfully it was negative for peanuts. So I think that was like a good sign. And one of the things the pediatrician nurse told me was that some of these allergies are sometimes just at the initial stage of the child's growth, and sometimes they grow out of these allergies. And I would say up until now we still avoid everything. And when it was one that okay, now it was time to just find a way of him taking cereal without having any trouble and all that, I first decided to use soya milk. So I store bought soya milk, and again I came with a roadblock because I now find out that okay, soya milk isn't too good for male, like boys. It's not good because of the things it can trigger in the hormone of the boys and all that. So I stopped that. I think it took that for a week and I stopped. Then I went ahead to start making oat milk myself at home. So it was easier for me because when I make oat milk, and it basically have that for maybe a batch that I make, it lasts us like 4 to 5 days, and I get to make another batch. And because it's homemade, there's nothing added in it, no addictive, it's just purely oat milk. And yeah, even when I started, I was adding dates to it, but at some point I stopped adding dates to it. I just, instead of that, I mash up banana and just put it in it for him. And that is what is oat milk that is currently taken now. And we are still in the stage of the test. We've done the first test and we did another allergy test, and still I think when we did the second allergy prick test, and what they were hoping to find is that because by the time they test him on the prick skin and they wait for it to react, for there to be a reaction on the skin, and they then measure it, and maybe like that, I feel like there's a scale on which they judge okay if it has reduced or is still the same. It's still the same thing, like the length or the diameter of the reaction that he had. So I sometimes last 2 months, yeah, if I'm correct, we had the second allergy test done, and I felt they saw a significant difference in the first reaction he had from the first test that he had done to the second one. So the pediatrician nurse suggested that I think it's time for us to begin on a food challenge. So what they mean by this food challenge is that the food that is allergic to, we now try to put him on like a food ladder and try reintroduction. Most of this reintroduction is done with the supervision of a nurse, a practitioner, a health practitioner, basically a nurse. Yeah. So in the light of all that happened, we got dates for the test, the food challenge test. So the ones we're starting with is the milk and the egg challenge, but let's just say we've not been successful with that yet, because the first one they will give you a recipe and ask you to make the recipe and bring it to the hospital, and your child will be admitted. He was admitted a day for that, and but since the recipe they were given was cake, and he doesn't eat cake, so perhaps I should have told them that he doesn't eat cake. And the reason why he doesn't eat, I didn't give him cake although I make cake, is because there's egg in it. And I remember there was a day he woke up from his sleep and wanted to have a snack, and I offered him a snack. Mind you, I was baking, and I don't know what happened that day. After like 5 minutes of eating this, he hadn't even finished the snack. He just started crying. I'm like, okay, what is it? Is it because you just woke up? And before you knew, he was just scratching his eyes, scratching. I'll try to insert a picture here. Scratching his eye. Before you knew what was happening, boom, one of the eyes was swollen. It was swollen for like 48 hours before everything could calm down. Gave him all the things we knew. I think by then they had given us an EpiPen, but for you to use EpiPen, it has to get to a certain level before you can even use EpiPen. So I think we're just, no, sorry, they hadn't given us an EpiPen by then. It was after then they gave us an EpiPen to just make sure that if he has an anaphylaxis reaction, we can, use the EpiPen. And because these reactions, they have levels. It can start with coughing, it can start with vomiting, but when it begins to affect the breathing, that is the point where you use the EpiPen. So yeah, if I'm very correct, that's the point you use the EpiPen. And let's just say it's been a journey, and the next stage that we are on currently is the food challenge. We've not been able to do one because appointment takes time, and the first appointment we were given, we couldn't do it because he didn't want cake, and we tried to incorporate it into all the food that he eats, put it into his cereal, even mixed it with jollof rice, but he sort of recognized that you guys are trying to do something. And the second one, because he wasn't well, we couldn't attend the appointment, or they couldn't test him, because if the child is unwell, they wouldn't do any test or treatment with the child. So that's the journey so far, and it has stretched me. I would say it has taught me a lot, not that if I took anything for granted, but not to take sound health for granted. Just imagine the hospital appointments that we've had to go through and the restrictions we have to be doing at home. Now if I go to the store to buy snacks, I have to be reading. Yes, I have to read though, because I don't know what's inside. I have to be careful what I'm offering. You cannot have dairy chocolates, because after eating dairy chocolates, the whole face will be filled with, or the whole body eventually will be filled with hives, and you start scratching, start coughing, and let's just say the will of the Lord will be done. And this is just a stage and a phase, and it's going to come out of it. So I hope you guys learned one or two things from our journey so far. My journey with motherhood has been one thing that I would probably never forget, because this has taught me a lot, and we hope everything works out as we want it to be and it gets better. What's called the eczema is still there. We're still seeing the we are still seeing dermatologists, we're still seeing the specialty nurses, and we're still in the journey, so to say. But I mean, as a mom, it has taught me to be careful what I give my child. Like, not even just food now, even with the drugs, because fine, all this, my husband is a doctor, and the craziest part of it is that when some of these things happen, I'm still lost in a fix, and I really do not want him to be the one to deal with it firsthand, because fine, it's not even ideal for him to deal with it firsthand, because you shouldn't be treating your family. So, and sometimes when he tells me some things that, oh, he will be all right, I don't believe him. He's a doctor, fine, but me, I don't believe you. Because you are part of this family, and sometimes you can be emotional, you can be, it might impede your judgments, you being part of the family. Funny thing is that, I mean, it can impede your judgment. So sometimes last year, yeah, we were to travel, and my son had flu, and normally for them, if they have flu, sometimes they have difficult with breathing and all that, and sometimes they have to use inhaler. But this one, we're trying to bring, because if we go to the hospital, they will not really do anything for you. They'll just like, the child will be fine, and I understand them, because the system, they sort of like the health system, or the doctors, they believe that you should allow your body fight some of this illness, so that you build an immunity to them, not that you'll be pumping yourself each time with drugs, and that will sort of like lower your immunity. So, and let's just say he had difficulty in breathing, and it wasn't getting any better. So we went to A&E. Okay, let's see if they'll be able to do anything for him. Before we knew it, we landed in a hospital admission, had a low oxygen level. I said, because of his allergy, because of his eczema, and because, I don't know, we thank God. We thank God. So, I just wanted to share this with you guys, and I don't know if you're able to learn one or two things. That intolerance that you're having, don't take it as a joke and begin to just pump yourself with the same thing that you are. And it can happen to anybody, and it might not even happen to you, it might not happen to anybody, but just have the awareness, because I myself, I wasn't aware, and it felt like I wasn't prepared for what was to come, and each day was just like a new stride. I had to expand myself, I had to stretch myself to new horizons that I wasn't prepared to do before. So yeah, that's our journey so far with allergy, struggling allergy, and battling eczema. All right, guys, thank you for if you have anything to say, or you have comments, or you have suggestions on the things I've said, or you've experienced it, or you just wants to give us some suggestion, let me know in the comment section below. Thank you guys, and bye.